Hello. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We will begin our descent momentarily. But first, welcome in. Hope you're all doing fantastic. We got good old topics today. Congrats on getting first, Lucy. We're gonna start up soon. Sooner rather than later. It goes well. How are you? Welcome in, everybody. Hope you're all doing fantastic today. We have a jam-packed episode for y'all. Hey, look, it's another week. It's another chance to get angry at video games and companies. Isn't that right, Randy? I am wearing a fresh, brand new Call to the Lamb shirt, which is something that I've been thinking about doing for a while because my old one was old and also the wrong size for me at this point. But yes, here we are. We are back. We are live. We are live every Wednesday unless told otherwise. Let's see what do we got here today, huh? Today there are actually a couple of other things that I added to the document, but the Xbox Bloodbath did happen. We'll talk about that first, along with the PlayStation digital game petition. There is some news about the Nintendo Switch and its ending production on the original Nintendo Switch, but there's a little bit of a caveat there. Rhythm Heaven Groove, I've been playing that. We'll talk about that. Let's talk about that. A couple of, let's see, there was a rebrand here by a company. Mario Kart Tour is going offline. Onimusha's pushing itself up. A game that I didn't think was ever going to get a physical version is getting a physical version. You'll be able to play Switch Sports Resort. And, of course, we have some additions to the Nintendo Switch Online service. Lots of cool stuff, if you ask me. Lots of cool stuff indeed. I am, of course, your host, Jeremy the Ferret. This is the one-stop shop for video game news, occurrences, first impressions, and so much more. And let's get into the first news of the day, which, of course, is going to be the Xbox news. Let's just dive right in. All right. So I talked about it. I think I talked about it last week, how there was a looming bloodbath and we had all these different indicators that something was going down. A couple of studios were worried that they were getting laid off and et cetera, et cetera. And it did happen this past week. 3,200 jobs were cut within Xbox. In total, across all of Microsoft, there was about 4,800 jobs cut in total. There was 1,600 jobs laid off or taken away or cut on the day of the bloodbath, which I believe was Tuesday or Monday, whichever day it was. That was how many jobs were cut that exact day. Now, of course, some of these numbers come from the fact that a couple of studios were let go from Xbox. They weren't shut down, thank goodness. There are a couple of silver linings here, at least, but it is a very large portion of not just developers but workers and stuff like that, a workforce inside of Xbox. Now, um, of course, with any of these things, just to start off, yeah, it sucks. It sucks to see this many jobs get lost in a day. It sucks that more cuts are coming in the future. It sucks that Xbox is having to let go of these studios that are very talented. I'm sure would make plenty more good games for them. It sucks that a lot of the people inside of Xbox who were laid off, they have to find new jobs now. They have to find new income. Probably a lot of them have families, a lot of stuff like that. So I think it's good to keep in mind that these are people who lost their jobs. They're not robots. They're not fake accounts. They're not whatever. They are actual people who lost their jobs. And I think a lot of people lose that sense of humanity when talking about this stuff, because there is obviously the critical and unfeeling lens of this, which is, hey, they cut away some of the fluff. They got rid of studios that weren't making them millions of dollars, blah blah blah. Like, I can kind of agree with a lot of points that people are making, but of course there are still the people who will viscerally attack you for just saying, hey, layoffs are bad. And in this case, Asha Shaman actually put out a statement that helped fuel that fire a little bit. Obviously, I don't know if the statement is 100% genuine. I do have it pulled up here. But at the end of the day, once again, these are human beings. These are people who are having to find a new avenue for work. They're teams of people who are now thrust into the indie landscape and or into the landscape of, hey, who's going to pay the most for our studio? So there's a lot of unknowns for a lot of these people. For 4,800 people who are losing or just lost their jobs, it's a big unknown. And I think it's fair to say that the layoffs in general are bad. And I think it's fair to say that I feel for these people who are just losing their job at the because either they're redundant or the Xbox just felt like they needed to be let go, right? So it sucks in general. So what are the studios that left Xbox? So Compulsion Games, most notably, they made South of Midnight recently, which won an award at the Game Awards. I believe it also won a couple of other awards at other awards ceremonies. They also worked on the We Happy Few games. I feel like this one draws the ire of a lot of people because it's stupid to fucking say, but people are saying that this game was too woke. It didn't make enough money, so that's why Xbox cut them, right? Double Fine Productions, they worked on the Psychonauts series. They recently released Kiln and Keeper. I think Keeper was last year. The justification for Double Fine being cut from the studios was, oh, Double Fine, they don't make money with their games. Their games don't make money. Cut that out. And I'll talk about that in a minute. Ninja Theory, this is another one that's too woke. Apparently, they are being transitioned to being sold off. They worked on, of course, the Hellblade series and Bleeding Edge. And first off, you can't blame Ninja Theory for working on Bleeding Edge. I feel like that was definitely an Xbox, like, hey, we need a multiplayer game, and you guys are good at making games. make a multiplayer game. I don't feel like you can really blame Ninja Theory for that one, especially the rough reception of that game. But yeah, once again, like, this is a studio that made AAA type games for them, and like, even though I wasn't super crazy about this new Hellblade game that they showed off with its action focus, like that that game is going to do well, at least in the download charts or play charts on Xbox Game Pass, right? And then finally, Undead Labs, which are currently working on State of Decay 3. They're also being sold off. There's really no justification for this one because State of Decay 1 sold really well. State of Decay 2, a lot of people enjoyed. Had its hiccups, but a lot of people enjoyed that game, and a lot of people are excited about State of Decay 3. Also, on the back end of this actually more recently came out, Arcane Studios is going through some sort of reviewing of what's going on over there. So who knows what's going to happen with the Blade game that's coming out. So let me just say, one, Compulsion Games is not being axed from Xbox because they're too woke or they didn't make enough money with their games. First off, I will say, it is not any of these studios' faults that their games don't make money within Xbox, right? You can have a studio come in and put their game on Xbox Game Pass. That studio gets paid however much money, $100,000, however much money it is. They get the money for putting the game on Xbox Game Pass. And then they also get the residual sales from being just sold on the Xbox Store or on the PlayStation Store or Steam or Epic Games. Wherever they're selling the game elsewhere, there are also people buying the game on those sites. So, of course, something that is on Game Pass, like let's say they decide to put Mecha Chameleon on Game Pass, guess what? It's on Game Pass. It's being paid to be put on Game Pass, one. And two, it's already making tons of money outside of Game Pass because, it's a popular game. People are picking it up. The problem here is that all four of these studios, the games are being made in-house. They're not being paid extra money to put them on Game Pass because they are Xbox first-party studios, or they were Xbox first-party studios. So thus, the games aren't going to make as much money in the wider landscape of things because most people who see, oh, Kiln is on Game Pass. Oh, South of Midnight is on Game Pass. Oh, Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice is on Game Pass. I'll just play it here. And that isn't a new person getting Game Pass for Kiln or for South of Midnight. I also don't think that's really happening. That is just someone who already has Game Pass, who maybe enjoys Xbox Studios or maybe wants to play something a little bit different that's not just Call of Duty or something like that, and they play the game that way. So you are Xing out a lot of potential revenue. And now these people would come back and say, well, how much money would Kiln have actually made? We don't know because guess what? That's not the reality that we are in. The reality that we are in is that Kiln was released on Game Pass. It did release simultaneously on other platforms, but it was on Game Pass day one. So, of course, it's going to make less money in the long run. Now, I don't know how Kiln is doing right now. I'm hoping it's doing well. I haven't played it in a little bit because I kind of had my time with it, and I would like to go back to it eventually. It's a fun concept. It's a fun game, and that's the thing too. All these studios are more of an indie type game studio that that were picked up by Xbox instead of it being like a Bethesda type scenario or something like that where it's like a AA team of developers. Compulsion Games, Double Fine, Ninja Theory, Undead Labs. These are all studios that were indie at some point in their life, and then they were picked up by Xbox in an acquisition. So these studios, I mean, like look at Double Fine. They definitely make high quality games. Their games are very unique. Psychonauts 2, the Rhombus of Ruin, Kiln, Keeper, stuff like that. These are games that are not going to appeal to a massive audience. And the same thing you can say for Compulsion Games. We Happy Few, South of Midnight. These are games that are not going to be wide-reaching. The guy who's playing Fortnite all day is not going to go, I'm going to play South of Midnight. I'm going to pay for South of Midnight and play South of Midnight. I don't think that's going to happen. But because the games are on Game Pass, they get played by people who wouldn't normally have played them. And a lot of times, these games that are day one on Xbox Game Pass, they don't come out on other systems for a little while. So like South of Midnight, I think it more recently released on Switch and PlayStation, at least PlayStation. I don't know about Switch, but at least PlayStation. It most recently released on PlayStation. So once again, like most people who are looking to play this game probably have already played it on Game Pass, or they've already bought it in another place that's not PlayStation, or maybe even on Steam. So once again, I don't really blame these studios for not making tons of money, and I do also applaud these studios for having more diversity in the games and having a diverse lineup of games. Like these games are not just like your bog standard, like, hey, let's put out another Gears of War or another Halo, right? These are games that have meaning behind them. They're games that have a message inside of them. They're games that they're not looking to be a general audience type game. They're games that are more indie focused, and they're games that are going to be for a more niche audience. So of course, these studios aren't going to be pumping out the big bucks like other ones that are underneath the banner of Xbox. It's just facts. And if that means that they need to be cut from Xbox and let off on their own, then I guess so be it. Because I think at the end of the day, Double Fine, Compulsion Games, Ninja Theory, Undead Labs, even if Arcane for whatever reason goes rogue, I think these studios will be fine. And I will still support Double Fine, at least Double Fine and probably Compulsion Games, because they've made two very, actually Double Fine has made a lot of great games. Like that's the thing too, like whenever I bring up like, hey, Double Fine, if they shut down Double Fine, I'm never gonna forgive Xbox. I'm glad that they did not shut down Double Fine, because Double Fine is one of my favorite game studios. They've made Psychonauts 2, which was close to being a game of the year it came out. Psychonauts 1, which is like a true 3D platformer classic. You have the Rhombus of Ruin, which is a very interesting VR game that was made specifically for PlayStation VR back in the day. So they have a lot of cool stuff, and then of course Keeper. It's such a very weird and unique experience, and it kind of splinters off from that like style of Psychonauts. And of course, Kiln is a very unique multiplayer brawler game. There's nothing else quite like Kiln out there. Does that mean that the game is going to sell thousands and upon thousands of copies? No, because it is a very niche idea. Pots fighting each other. You make a pot, you fight each other. But when the game is on something like Xbox Game Pass, it's of course going to have more of an audience, but it's not going to have necessarily more sales, just like with anything else. Now Ninja Theory, it's crazy that they're letting Ninja Theory go in a lot of ways, because Ninja Theory is I believe Hellblade 2 was like one of the first Xbox games in a long time to actually get an award. And yeah, they're just letting that studio go. I mean, Ninja Theory, it doesn't matter what you think of their games. The games are very well received for the most part. The games look very good. They're definitely AAA quality. The gameplay, it can be a little bit hit or miss, because it is more of like a walking puzzle type game, but still at the end of the day, like you have these incredible atmospheric moments, you have incredible music, you have incredible acting, like all this stuff comes together to make these games. So why you're letting Ninja Theory walk is beyond me, other than the fact that you don't want to close down other studios that can more so help with your Call of Duty IPs. Undead Labs, they've been like, so another thing that people were saying in defense of this, which look, I'll get to the part where I actually agree with some of the defense, but right now it's a little bit of like I disagree with this point. They kept saying, people were saying like, yeah, it's taken 8 years to put out another game. And of course, like South of Midnight, the time between We Happy Few and South of Midnight, that was like 5 or 6 years or something like that. And the time between Hellblade 1 and Hellblade 2, like of course that was or Bleeding Edge to Hellblade 2. Like, yeah, there's a big gap there, but that's because games take time to make. It's not like they can just fart out a million games. These are still technically smaller studios, even though they're inside of the realm of Xbox. Like, it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, of course it's going to take Double Fine a couple years to make another game, like, but also like Double Fine was one of the ones that was consistently putting out product. Like they put out Keeper last year, they put out Kiln this year, they put out Psychonauts 2 like 4 years ago now. Like it's really not that long between the games here. I get it for Compulsion Games, like yeah, between We Happy Few and South of Midnight there is a pretty big gap there, but when you look at the quality of South of Midnight and everything that went into that game, like yeah, it makes sense that the game took longer than 5 years to make. Same thing with Hellblade 1 to Hellblade 2, or Bleeding Edge to Hellblade 2. Like, they're like, if you look at the game and you play that game, it's like, yeah, no wonder this took so long. And there's another, conversation about bloated game development times and bloated gaming budgets. That's obviously not what we're talking about here. Yeah, this is one of those things where I disagree with the points that people are making specifically for the studios that are being let go. I feel like a lot of people are pushing things onto these studios that aren't necessarily true. Also, a lot of times people will just say things because they're like, well, I need to have a reason, right? So, the easiest way to get people on my side is to say like, they're woke or something, right? Which is just like a really poorly made argument at the end of the day. And usually what happens is someone says something like that, like, the it's because the games didn't sell well because the politics inside the games. It's like, well, what game isn't full of politics? Like, look at Call of Duty. Look at Modern Warfare 4. It's North Korea versus South Korea. If that's not political, then I don't know what the fuck is. Black Ops 7, a big stance against AI in that game, right? Which is pretty ironic, seeing as the game he had a lot of AI like artwork and stuff in it, but still at the end of the day, like that's pretty political, right? So using the argument that these studios made political games is also just like throw it out the window, because it's like it doesn't matter. Like that stuff doesn't matter. Every game is political at the end of the day. I mean, if you want to escape politics, then shut yourself into a cave. That's all I'm saying. So this is a pretty lengthy statement from Asha, but I feel like to really get a full encompassing picture of what she's fronting here, I do want to read through her statement and give her the time of day, because at the end of the day, I do feel like Asha is leading Xbox in the right direction for the most part, right? I've had agreeances with her through a lot of her tenure so far, a lot of things she's been saying. We knew that these things were going to happen eventually. They were going to need to let people go. Obviously, this is a big, big reset for Xbox, like massive, right? So I do want to give her a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, and let's dive right in. So this was published July 6th by Asha on the Xbox News website. I believe she also posted this on her social medias as well. So she says, we are beginning the most significant restructure of Xbox history. After careful consideration, I've made the difficult decision to reduce our team by approximately 3,200 throughout fiscal year 27. This will include approximately 1,600 role eliminations today, and in addition, 4 studios will leave Xbox to new management. I recognize that a year-long restructuring creates additional challenges. Unfortunately, it is not possible to make all the necessary changes in a single day, and I want to be direct about the scale. I know this is painful. These changes will directly affect people who have poured their creativity into building Xbox. Many joined us through acquisitions, while others were recruited here or sought us out because they loved the industry and loved Xbox. Today's decisions do not reflect their talent or dedication. Our business today is not healthy. We are operating at margins that are 3 to 10 times lower than comparable platforms and publishing businesses. We entered Gen 9 with a smaller install base and a higher cost structure. To grow, we bet on Game Pass, multi-platform, and broader portfolio of content. While those businesses have created meaningful value, they did not grow at the pace that we expected. As that happened, our core business weakened, and we added more teams, more investments, and more time, hoping for a better outcome. And now the industry is facing the most severe hardship crisis in history. We must reset Xbox. So let me pause the statement right here, because I think that in this statement is the true blame for a lot of this, which is the mismanagement of Xbox for the past generation at least, right? You put that under Phil Spencer, you put that under Sarah Bond, people like that. And this is where I start to agree with some things, because I do, and I've look, I have so many episodes of Ferret64 where I've talked about how Xbox's ideas, Xbox's new stuff, I've talked about Game Pass ad nauseum, about how it's not really that good for Xbox developers and Xbox studios. I've talked about it so much, and this is kind of what she's echoing right now, is the fact that, like, yeah, Phil Spencer kind of led Xbox into the wrong direction. He led, overspending, look, just picking up Bethesda itself was a bit of an overspend, but then you pick up Activision, Blizzard, etc. You pick up all these other smaller studios here and there as you keep going. And like, if you want to compare this to PlayStation only picked up Bungie for $3 billion, but Xbox picked up so many different studios for large chunks of change at the same time. Yeah, it's going to be hard to earn back that money, especially when you have these studios that are working on original IPs or things that aren't like massively popular, right? And if you look at Bethesda, it's like, yeah, they definitely have large IPs. These IPs are ones that are going to be wide reaching, but the problem is that Bethesda put out a game called Starfield, which is not tied to any of their original IPs. Now, do I like an original IP? Yes, I love original IPs, but Starfield was just not that step in the in the direction that Xbox was hoping for. I don't know if it sold too well. But yeah, I mean, to circle back, I do agree that yes, Phil Spencer is the one who put them into this position. Even though Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond, they're great people. They have done, on a personal level, they seemed really nice and they seem to be really charismatic, especially Phil Spencer. Like, when Phil was doing E3 stuff or when he was doing showcase work and stuff like that, like, he really exuded a personality that really felt welcoming and friendly. And the problem with that is that a lot of times after those showcases, this friendly guy would come out the next day and be like, hey, we're shutting down X amount of studios. Hey, we're laying off X amount of employees. And it just always came off wrong. This is this whole statement that I'm about to read is way more transparent than we've ever had with Xbox. But at the same time, it still sucks that all these people are having to lose their jobs, especially over the course of a year. This is something that's not going to just take a day. Like, they're not just gone like a snap. It's definitely going to take some time. So that is a little bit annoying for, I'm sure, a lot of the people who are inside of Xbox, like, waiting for, like, okay, who's next? What's going to happen next? But yes, so the main thing here with that first part of the intro to the statement is that yes, what has been come before has been affecting the bottom line at Xbox, and I don't know if it's mentioned in this statement, but apparently there was like 14 layers of management that you had to go through for things. So they, of course, cut a lot of those people at Microsoft, which is where like the extra 1,000 something people come from that were laid off. Like that stuff. I do agree with the concept of laying those people off or taking them out, right? But also at the same time, like, it's a lot of people to take out at the same time. So it's a weird back and forth here. But at the end of the day, Xbox's multi-platform strategy didn't work. Xbox Game Pass is draining them dry of more revenue that they could have. Like, even the Black Ops 7 was still profitable. We know that from the numbers that came out. It was not as profitable as other Call of Duty games in the past, but still, it made its money back and more, especially with all the microtransactions that go on inside of it. So, like, even though you're not, like, losing tons of revenue from Call of Duty, not having to be on Xbox Game Pass, I mean, this was something that I suggested they do a long time ago, and now they're finally doing it this year. I mean, this will probably be one of the best-selling Call of Duties out there, most likely. All right, let's start this off. So she says, first, we will reset our current content portfolio. Since 2018, we have aggressively expanded our studio portfolio, while the number of games created each month across the industry now outpaces the last 10 years combined. We now find ourselves competing not only with the largest publishers, but also with small independent studios. It is neither possible nor desirable to own every great independent studio. We have also learned that we are not the best home for every type of studio. In a typical year, we lost 64 cents for every dollar we invested. As we reset Xbox, we will help independent creators succeed by providing open development tools and audiences to realize their vision. Compulsion Games and Double Fine Productions will return to management and transition to independent studios with their IP catalog and run away for their next games. Ninja Theory and Undead Labs have entered terms to join new ownership with funding to complete and grow Senua and State of Decay 3. In France, Arcane's management is beginning required consultation with its work council to review Potential strategic options. We are also making reductions across other units and in some cases shifting investment to focus on higher priority projects. These changes vary across Activision, Bethesda, ZeniMax, Blizzard, King, Mojang, and Xbox Game Studio. None of our first-party publicly announced games or projects are being canceled as part of these reductions. In addition, Mojang and King will now report directly to me, Asha. These two studios have increasingly become platforms that are our largest by monthly active players, and being critical geographic, demographic, and differentiation to Xbox. Look, lots of big words there. So this first part of the statement sums up what I was already talking about, how they were losing money from stuff. They weren't, I mean, the one thing is like, yeah, they weren't making enough games in that time, and I think that you can really feel that with how big of a gap there is between Halo games right now. Like Halo Infinite came out like 5 years, maybe even more after Halo 5. Which is crazy, it's a bit odd in my opinion. I am really glad that Double Fine and Compulsion are taking their IPs with them. Any other studio would probably keep those IPs and let them sit on a shelf. Same thing with Ninja Theory and Undead Labs. It is weird that Mojang and King are going to report directly to Asha, but I guess the fact is like, hey, when things need to be fast tracked here, we can't go through layers of management. We just go right to the top, and it does make sense because Minecraft, I believe it's like the #1 or #2 like best selling game right now, next to like Grand Theft Auto 5 and Candy Crush, which is King's main, only thing that I know about King. That's obviously like everyone play like there was a time where everyone was playing Candy Crush. I don't know if everyone is playing Candy Crush, but I think there's still a very large amount of people who are just like slamming Candy Crush every day. I mean, at one point my parents were playing Candy Crush and they like don't play video games, so it's like everyone was there, et cetera, et cetera. So the second part of the statement here is we will reset our platform. We know that great technology gets better when it gets simpler, not bigger. Today, in some parts of the company, work passes through as many as 14 layers of management. Our platform teams are 40% larger than they were at the start of the generation, even as our player base and player time have declined. That complexity has slowed decisions, blurred accountability, and made it harder to deliver for players. As we reset Xbox, we will simplify. We will reduce management layers to no more than 5, and where possible, 3. We will deliver success through a flatter organization that is built around makers, player coaches, and directly responsible individuals who own key decisions and outcomes. And we will streamline how we work across our tools with a cleaner code base, shared services, and 50% reduced vendor spend. So this is the part of the this second point here, is the part where I wholeheartedly agree. Like 14, that's a lot of layers of management, right? And that just feels like bloat. Like Phil Spencer or Sarah Bond were giving people jobs that maybe they shouldn't have had or something like that, where it's just like, okay, so you have to go through, so if you're a developer working a game, you have to go through the lead of your project, and then that lead has to talk to another person, and that lead has to talk, or that person needs to talk to, boom, boom, boom. It goes all the way up the ladder, and it can take a long time for decisions to be made on things, which could be why a lot of the games took a little bit longer to make these past couple of years. So yeah, I mean, I understand getting rid of that fluff. And like when I talk about like layoffs being bad, in general, like this is the type of thing that's like, okay, at least there's an understandable part of this where it's like, okay, there is something inherently wrong with this system that has been created by former CEOs, former people in power. So you do have to simplify it, and as they like to say, reset. So this is like okay, this is my critical like mind saying, or my unbiased opinion, where it's like, yeah, I mean, I get it. At least this middle part, I get. Like you're not going to be able to save these people's jobs or moving them around. Like it makes some sense. Still feel for the people being laid off. It still sucks a lot, but at least this section makes the most sense. Third statement by Asha here. We are resetting how we operate. As Xbox grew our headcount, we became more fragmented. Teams, studios, and functions often operate independently, and it became harder to work towards a shared goal, make the right trade offs, and get things done. For the first time, we are establishing a chief operating officer to end with end-to-end P&L responsibility across content, hardware, platform, and services. Helen Chang has been promoted to this role and will report directly to me. Over nearly 2 decades at Xbox, Helen has helped build some of our most important businesses, from Xbox Live to leading Mojang and the Minecraft franchise. She will bring our business together under one operating model, making sure we make clear investment decisions, learn from our successes and failures, and hold ourselves accountable for results. Thank you, Dave McCarthy, who is retiring after 17 years at Xbox. Okay, yep, whatever. These changes are bigger. These changes are about a bigger future for Xbox, not a smaller one. The next decade of gaming will be larger, more global, and more creative than anything we've seen before. This year, we'll invest as much in Xbox as we ever have, but we'll invest with greater focus, greater discipline, and greater clarity, all in service of making Xbox where the world plays and creates. I want Xbox to be one of the few companies that entertains more than 1 billion people each day and gives everyone the opportunity to create and connect. I know we can achieve this goal. Wow. Xbox has many of the most beloved franchises in entertainment history, talented studios around the world, and we will return to growth in 2027. History is full of companies that mistake longevity for inevitability. We will not be one of them. So 1 billion people. I mean, that's what? How many people? There's like 2.6 billion people on Earth right now, so that's like half of the global population. Or a little bit under half. That's that. I mean, hey, dream big. I guess dream big. So I mean, this statement is relatively fine. I think that the fact that I mean, look, it all starts at the top. If your teams are fragmented and people are working independently and they're not working with whatever, right? I mean that it all starts at the top. Which maybe is why Phil and Sarah Bond left the company in the first place, is because they started with the top and now they're working their way down. Yeah, I don't know. At the end of the day, I think, like, even though I don't want these things to happen in such large quantities, at least in this case, we have it all laid out here. We have the statement. I mean, I have no reason not to believe what she's saying here. I have no reason to not think that she's being genuine. At the end of the day, there is some silver lining here. There is some, understandable things here as well. And look, once again, it does all start with with management from before. Phil Spencer and them, they paid, they spent too much money on studios, and they just grabbed everyone up that they could, and they tried to really diversify their portfolio, but at the same time, they were picking up these studios that, like, they're not system sellers, right? Like, no one's buying an Xbox Series X for South of Midnight. People aren't buying an Xbox Series S or X for Kiln. Like, those are these are things that I know. I hate to admit it, but I do know, like, yeah, those aren't system sellers. What are the system sellers? They are the first party Xbox games, the ones that come from studios that have long tenure. The Forza franchise, Halo, Gears of War, Fable is coming out. Like, these are games that are going to be a system seller. They're going to get people to jump onto Game Pass. They're going to be people who jump onto the Xbox brand. So when you pick up like 1 million studios with their own IPs, bringing them into Xbox, like Minecraft, like Psychonauts, like et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Place any IP here that's been bought, like any Bethesda game too, like not the new ones like Avowed or like the latest Doom games and stuff like that. But think about it, like, we're like, technically Elder Scrolls is an Xbox game, right? But also technically it's not an Xbox game. Technically it's just a Bethesda game that Xbox has bought the rights to the IP for, right? Same thing with Fallout, same thing with Dishonored. Like, all these games, Guitar Hero, Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, these are not specifically Xbox games. And maybe someone would buy an Xbox if Guitar Hero was exclusive to Xbox Series X. But also at the same time, yeah, these aren't original Xbox IPs, at least not most of them, right? Spyro originally started on PlayStation. Crash Bandicoot, PlayStation, right? Tony Hawk Pro Skater originally started on N64, PlayStation, yeah, and Xbox. It was multi brand. Yeah, that's the main point that I want to make. There is like, you did bring in all these studios, but at the same time, I feel like no one says Spyro, that's a great Xbox game. No, people say like, oh, Spyro, I remember playing that on PlayStation, or oh, I remember playing that on PC, or oh, Crash Bandicoot. I loved playing the Insane trilogy on Steam. I just feel like a lot of these mascots and stuff that they picked up, it's like, no, like Spyro was a mascot for PlayStation before it was Xbox. And I think more people associate Spyro with multi-platform at this point than they do with Xbox. It's just a pure fact, because guess what? Spyro hasn't gotten a new game yet, but Toys for Bob is apparently working on one. But at the end of the day, like, you have these characters, you have these IPs, you have these studios that aren't necessarily Xbox studios. They started somewhere else, and you can't expect people to just be like, "Oh yeah, Minecraft, that's Xbox game." Like, no, it's Mojang's game made by what's his face, on Java, right? Like that's where it all started, and that's kind of where people see it. If Xbox decide to lay down $5 billion and buy Fortnite, just Fortnite, they buy Fortnite in the studio that makes Fortnite. Will people be like, "Oh, Xbox game"? No, they'll say Fortnite. Not associated with Xbox. They'll just say Fortnite. So anyway, that is that. So, the three main things right there already went over: reset content portfolio, reset platforms, resetting operations. I think in general this will be a net positive for Xbox, but they're going to be under the microscope for quite some time at this point. Whatever happens with Project Helix, they're gonna have to really turn things around with that. If they're really truly resetting things, they better have a lineup of first-party games for whatever Project Helix is going to be that really knocks the socks off of everyone, right? I'm talking about like a day one brand new Halo game. I'm talking about like a day one fucking like, maybe not Gears of War because there's one coming out this year, but like, a day one like Banjo Kazooie, or a day one like, just something big from them, right? Like, we can't keep doing this where it's like we release a new console and there's one game or there's two games plus support from other studios. I criticized Nintendo for that. Like, the two games we got from Nintendo day one was Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour and fucking Mario Kart World. And there was, of course, other companies supporting them in the third-party sense with, Fast Fusion and all these other games. But at the same time, like, I look back and I go, what was day one on the PS4? That was like, there was a couple games, Knack, Killzone. There was one more that I forget, right? But there was games there. Same thing with Xbox One. There was a bunch of games there day one. PS3, Xbox 360, like, these consoles launched with the goods. And you look all the way back to like N64 with Mario 64 and Pilot Wings, and like there's obviously there's a less, but at the same time, like, if we put out Xbox Project Helix and it has day one Halo and that's it, you're essentially saying like, well, our biggest fan base is going to be the first person shooter fans or the Halo fans, which makes sense, but also at the same time, like, you definitely should have some more coming out to really diversify that, to really flesh that out. But who am I to say? So, at the end of the day, before I continue with this topic, I do think that this will eventually be a net positive for Xbox, reducing how much money they're just like spending on fluff, right? But also at the same time, they're going to be getting shit for this for a while. Of course, people will still come out of the woodwork and just defend it no matter what. But like, there are parts of this that are silver linings. Studios not being shut down completely, but being able to go independent or be sold off, right? There's a silver line to this where it's like, yeah, we eliminated this 14 layers of fluff that we really didn't need. That is technically a silver lining because now hopefully things will be more streamlined. Games will come out a little bit faster. Things will be a bit more timely inside the studio, right? And I do think that taking Xbox games off of just Xbox is going to be rough, especially for the first one that does it, which was Gears of War, right? E-Day. I feel like you put out the Gears of War Reloaded remake last year on PlayStation, and you got the fans really excited, like, oh, we're going to be getting Gears of War on PlayStation. And you're doing the same thing with Halo this year, by the way. You're doing the same thing with Halo. So the next Halo is most likely going to be an Xbox exclusive. The next Gears of War major thing is probably going to be an exclusive. I feel like at this point, if they start making their games actually exclusive and not just putting them on Xbox and PC, I think that will start to bring more people over, especially when their IPs start to, the big IPs start coming out. And if they do actually, look, I shat on Phil Spencer for a long time for this. He said Tony Hawk's coming back, Guitar Hero, Banjo, all these different IPs were coming back, and everyone was like, yes, this is great. When they originally bought Activision, it was like, I don't know about this. But as soon as he was like, hey, we're bringing back Guitar Hero, nothing happened. I mean, we got Rock Band in Fortnite before we got a new Guitar Hero game, right? We're about to get Grand Theft Auto 6 before we get a new actual Guitar Hero game, right? I will never stop criticizing Phil Spencer for that because he just said that stuff to sell the idea of them buying Activision and Blizzard and all those other studios underneath them, right? And they spent a lot of money for this stuff and a lot of money for these IPs that they're just not using. These studios that they're just pushing on to other projects. And it's like, damn, if you just made that Guitar Hero, if you made that Banjo-Kazooie, if you made that brand new Tony Hawk game, not the remake, just a brand new Tony Hawk game, I think you would be in a little bit of a better position right now. And if you made those games exclusive, we might not even be in this scenario. People might have actually moved over to the Xbox for some of these IPs, right? Because we already know that Xbox has Halo. We already know Xbox has Gears of War. We haven't seen too many of these games, but they are there. So the people who like those IPs are already going to have an Xbox. But if you start bringing in more of those studios that are not officially Xbox, like they you bought the IPs like Guitar Hero, but they're not actually Xbox IPs. If you bring them over and you make a new one and you say, this is the Guitar Hero Xbox version, it is only on Xbox Series X for this foreseeable future, I think you will actually move some consoles. Brand new Banjo-Kazooie, Xbox Series S and X exclusive, boom, you got me. I mean, I already have an Xbox Series S, but that's besides the point. But boom, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people who would really enjoy that, right? And you don't necessarily have to put these games on Xbox Game Pass, but that's a whole other story or conversation there. I think the big idea is yeah, your big IPs, the ones that you're spending the most money on, maybe don't put those on Xbox Game Pass. And then also at the same time, if you do put the next Banjo-Kazooie made for Toys R Us or Spyro, which is Spyro, if you do put Spyro onto Xbox Game Pass, don't expect it to sell crazy amounts of copies because it's on Xbox Game Pass, right? And if it's only on Xbox and PC, then expect even less sales. So adjust yourselves accordingly. We'll see how this goes within the next the next fiscal year, and we'll regroup and see if it worked. If it does work, great. All these people's jobs were not lost for nothing, right? But if it doesn't work and Xbox slowly shuts itself down like people were expecting it to a couple of months ago, well, then yeah, the loss of these jobs and these people and this whole business model laid out here, it's meaningless. It's essentially meaningless. So, my one thing to say to Asha, right to her, she's listening to this podcast. The one thing that I'm saying is make this count. You can't fumble this. You cannot fumble this. You already do not have the good graces of most gamers. And you do have a passionate Xbox fan base, but the problem is that fan base is not as large as some of the other fan bases out there, Key, Nintendo, Steam, etc., right? You are third right now. You are third against PlayStation and Nintendo. And even though PlayStation has been kind of messing things up, you're still third on that list there. So make this giant thing count. Make all these words mean something. These loss of jobs, make sure these people's loss of jobs actually matter, right? In the long run, turn things around. Don't rely on AI. And I think once the next Xbox console is ready to go, you can start your big turnaround for Xbox. But right now, you're going to get shit. You've already been getting shit, so it's not like that's nothing new. You're going to be getting shit. You're going to have to deal with that for a while because people remember things. I remember things. I mean, I'm still talking about Phil Spencer's, mess. But if everything starts working out, keep moving forward. The people will come around eventually, especially if you have a really good lineup day one for whatever Project Helix will be. That's all I have to say directly to Asha Shaman. Hope you're having a great day. She's not going to see this. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I want. Like the end of like this whole layoff discussion is like make this shit count. They've been bleeding employees for years now. We've seen it over and over again where layoffs happen, studios get closed, et cetera, et cetera. They overspent every single time. Make this one count. All those other ones are meaningless. Those loss of jobs, meaningless. Loss of IP, loss of studios, meaningless. Make this count. Build this into something. For the love of God, build this into something. Because if we do this, we take out all these jobs, we simplify, we blah, 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 all the buzzwords, and nothing happens, or if you just shut down, slowly start to shut down Xbox in general, it's all meaningless. It didn't matter, right? And I would love for some competition for PlayStation right now, okay? I talked about it last week. PlayStation fucked up big time, okay? If Xbox comes out and says, these are our first party titles that are coming to Xbox Project Helix day one, it's going to have an option for a disc drive. It's, just do everything that PlayStation did like 10 years ago with the PS4 versus Xbox One, flip it on their heads, put out videos of you giving a game to someone else, put out a video of like instructional for how to sell a game, put out stuff like that, really put their head to the grindstone, like really like give them shit. People will come around. I mean, at this point, like the only saving grace for physical games is if Xbox keeps physical games alive. Nintendo's been fine. I don't have anything bad to say about Nintendo in that aspect right now. Like game key cards are kind of shitty, but at the same time, at least we're getting first party, and actually we're getting some third party, not game key cards at this point. So besides the point, I'm Nintendo fan number one at this point. Just do everything. Like when Sony puts out a statement and says, we're not selling digital, we're not selling physical games anymore, sell physical games. When Sony says, we are raising the prices on our online service, say, hey, we're actually reducing prices. Actually, we are making online free again. Like, that would be huge. This is obviously, like, not realistic at all, but Xbox Project Helix with free online multiplayer access, oh, we're back to the PS3 days, baby. Like, I think that would be great. Like, all these, like, look, Xbox set a lot of things in motion throughout gaming history, right? Some good, some bad. One of the bad things they did was they tied online gameplay to Xbox Go Live, right? Where you had to pay an extra fee in order to play online, even though you have an internet connection, even though you already own the system, you blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. Revert back. Bring it back. Bring it back now, y'all. I really do feel like they have a prime opportunity to swoop in, grab a lot of PlayStation players, and say, hey, physical forever. Hey, online, no problem. Hey, our prices for Game Pass, We're putting them down, and that's because we're taking, like, if they're just transparent about it, hey, we're taking our big IPs off of Game Pass, but Game Pass will still be a great value. Our smaller studios games will come there. I mean, look, Game Pass in general is a good concept it's great for gamers, right? It's an amazing deal even now with its tiers and whatnot. It's still an amazing deal, right? What's not a good deal is for the Xbox developers themselves, who just get shafted because their games don't sell as well, which means, your game didn't sell well, so you can go, right? So they need this. That's what they need to do. They need to, one, reduce the price, take off their big AAA games from the service, keep the service relatively the same, keep having independent and AA studios feeding games into Game Pass. You'll still make money from that, and then just make online free. Like, I mean, it never made sense for online to be a paid thing, right? And everyone just followed Xbox when they did that because it made tons of money. And money talks, just like AC/DC says. Money talks, right? So, anyway, I'm off topic here. But at the end of the day, I think that's what Xbox needs to do at this point. And we'll see what they actually end up doing. But once again, I just want to say, make it count. Like, don't have all these people lose their jobs and have to find new work. Be meaningless. Make it count. That's all I'm saying. Also, there's some statements from the studios that are leaving Xbox. We do not have one from the Ninja Theory yet, but we do have a couple here. So Undead Labs, they said, today Undead Labs begins a new chapter. We're transitioning out of Xbox, and while we can't share all the details just yet, we can tell you this. State of Decay 3 is still coming. The team is working hard on our commitment to this community. I'm sorry, I misread that. The team is working hard, and our commitment to this community has never been stronger. More news soon. Survivors stick together. Double Fine, they said, once again, Double Fine Productions will be an independent studio. We're thankful to everyone at Xbox for 7 great years together, and for working with us to reach an outcome which preserves our history and culture, and returns ownership of our games to us. To everyone who has reached out these past few weeks, thank you so much for all your kind words. We've been deeply touched by all your messages. We will share more news soon on what comes next. Your continued support is greatly appreciated, Tim and all at Double Fine. And then finally, we have a statement from Compulsion Games, which was the longest statement. When Compulsion Games was founded in 2009 as an indie studio, we were just a few dreamers in a leaky old gramophone factory devoted to creating rich storylines and experiences that felt handcrafted. We care about the craft of making games, the stories we tell, the players who experience them, and the assembled creators who put their heart and soul into doing something different. Today, we're sharing that Compulsion Games will return to an independent management following our time as part of Xbox. As part of this transition, we will retain the rights to Contrast, We Happy Few, and our award-winning South of Midnight. We're grateful for the years we spent at Xbox, for the support they provide our team, and for the opportunity to bring these games to players around the world. As an independent studio, we're excited to continue building distinctive games that define Compulsion while taking the next steps in their journey. Our immediate priority is to support our team throughout this transition period. We are confident in the future of Compulsion Games and look forward to this next chapter where one thing will remain constant. We will create unique games that tell important stories, all with the goal of touching the hearts and minds of our players. So the one thing that kind of stinks is Compulsion Games is between games right now, right? They just released South of Midnight last year. It won awards. They released the game on Switch and PlayStation, right? So right now they don't have, other than like maybe a concept phase, and maybe they are working on something else in the background. Some of their team members are working on something. The problem is that they don't have anything to really show right now to like be like, hey, investors, hey. The one thing they do have though is that award from the Game Awards, which is the biggest thing. They got other awards as well, sure. But obviously the big hoo-ha, the big gooch, Jeff Keighley. He's going to have the most sway with awards being thrown out there. So they do have that under their wing. So if anything, they can say, hey, we made an award-winning game. So, fund our next game, and we guarantee, maybe not guarantee, but we'll try, we're going to try our best to get another award, make this worth it, right? So yeah, I think they're in the hardest spot right now because they just put out a pretty big game. It did well. They put it on multiple platforms. So they don't really have anything to like solid right now to show off, I don't think. And you could say the same thing about Double Fine, but Double Fine is one of those studios that is working on multiple things at the same time. They were working on Keeper and Kiln at the same time, and they released those games relatively recently, right? So I'm sure Double Fine already has something else in the works, if not already in like the almost finished state. And Undead Labs, of course, we've known that they've been working on State of Decay 3 for a little while now, and hopefully they have conceptual stuff, maybe some gameplay demos that they can show, people who would want to buy the studio, right? And of course, we already know that Hellblade and Ninja Theory, they have gameplay. They have a finished, practically a finished product, maybe a finished demo. So you know that someone's going to pick that up because they're another award-winning studio. They're not just like sitting around on their ass, right? So yeah, there is that. So those are the studio's statements about their departures. And then one thing came up today, which was it's one of these things where it's like everyone was saying like, oh, it's just trimming the fat, it's just blah blah blah. There's really no studios that like main Xbox studios being affected by this. Well, id Software is being affected by this. id Software, the one that is like one of the most consistent studios from Bethesda to actually pump out content, right? Under Xbox's banner, they did Doom Eternal, Doom the Dark Ages, Wolfenstein Youngblood, Wolfenstein 2, and the Doom DLC that just came out. And did I say Dark Ages? Dark Ages. So that's like 6 experiences right there that they've done in the past like 10 years or whatever, right? So why id Software is the one that's being cut, having stuff being cut from them, having people being cut from their studio is beyond me. Because id Software is literally the one studio that has been really, really pumping like quality games out for Xbox pretty consistently. So it seems a little bit weird that this studio in general is getting 50% of its staff being laid off here. So I'm gonna go to the actual article here, which for some reason Xbox, pure Xbox didn't have an article for this, but Push Square was like, yeah, we gotta put something out here. So 158 people were laid off from id Software. I'm sorry, 96 were laid off from id Software. 40 people were remote workers. So that means 136 people were let go in general from id Software. 22 layoffs were attributed to other Bethesda studios, specifically the one in Austin. So there are actual game devs who are working on games getting laid off here. It's not like they're all just people who were a part of that 14-layer management group, right? So it does suck a lot because I think id Software is one of the better studios. Rage 2, I forgot about Rage 2. Rage 2 was an Xbox game, right? So like id Software has been putting out fucking shit for them, right? Like this is a studio that they should be supporting even more, but instead they're like, no. Yeah, we lose some fat there, right? So this goes against a lot of people's arguments that I've seen online where it's like, oh, it's only people getting laid off who are redundant or blah blah blah. Like, okay, but what about id Software? Like, I mean, Doom the Dark Ages was a fun game, right? I think a lot of people enjoyed that game. Maybe it didn't have the critical success that they wanted, but I think a lot of people enjoyed that. Doom Eternal is hailed as one of the best first-person shooters of all time. Rage 2, a bit mixed reception, sure, but like for a sequel to a pretty undeserving IP, like it did its job, and I think it had lots of really cool Mad Max-esque stuff in there, right? And I mean the DLC seems to be doing pretty well as well. So it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, maybe we should funnel money into id Software instead of laying people off. I don't know. That's just me. But yeah, it's just like, once again, the bottom line here is make this all worth it. Make it all count. Don't just keep going with layoffs. Don't just shut everything down. Don't just give up, right? Like, make it all count. Make it all worth it. Because at the end of the day, stuff like this is going to happen eventually down the road. Obviously not in this huge of quantity, but at the end of the day, like it's stuff that is inevitable in some fashion. But it's nothing that you want to see. You don't want to see 4,800 people being axed over the course of a year, right? Last time that Xbox had a huge layoff thing, it was like 1,000 some people. It was like the most layoffs we saw ever. And of course they're breaking their record here, but I mean, look, you can't blame COVID anymore. You can't do anything like that. Which is, it's good that Sasha didn't say like, oh, well, COVID's still. No, I'm so glad she was more transparent about that. With it being just like, yeah, we bloated everything out. So that's good, at least that she didn't try and blame it on COVID. But yeah, anyway, we'll see what happens with this. I'll keep my finger on that pulse, and we'll keep talking about this until the cows come home. And hopefully, within the next year, in 2027, they will announce Project Helix, whatever that's going to be, and they will totally and utterly crush PlayStation under their thumb and bring their good graces back. But until then, they're on my shit list for a little bit, while longer. They've kind of been on the shit list for a little bit, but this is a big thing. This is a big thing. And then, like I said, it's not like it's all bad. Like there's definitely some understandable points in here, but at the same time, it's a lot of people. It's a lot of people. A lot of people losing their jobs, and a lot of people, and a lot of people needing to find work. And not, I mean, look, I don't know if all those people are going to find jobs in this landscape right now. Like it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I mean, the gaming landscape is either you're an indie dev or you're a part of a AA or AAA studio, and those AA and AAA studios are more and more increasingly using AI to fill in gaps and remove people from those studios. And it's happening in the background right now. It's maybe not in the forefront right now, but there are definitely people losing jobs because AI is taking over that coding thing, or it's taking over that conceptual phase or whatever, right? Which is not good. Not good at all. So let's move on to the next news here. Yeah, if you don't recall, PlayStation last week, they announced that digital games are the way that they're going. They're shutting down the PS3 store and the PlayStation Vita store, which is ironic, seeing as they want to move to an all-digital platform, but they also want to shut down the all-digital storefronts. So it doesn't really make sense. So PlayStation actually went silent for quite some time before they finally came back with a post. And it was about this like new Flex Strike wireless flight stick type thing. And as predicted, they got completely flamed in the comments and ratioed to no end, which is to be expected. Right here we have Dolan Dark meme guy. He says, oh my gosh, get out of here. Seems kind of pointless for this product to be physical. Can you guys release a digital only version? Shinobi 602, big guy in the gaming community. He just did the oof face. Ricky Berwick says, can I play my physical games on it? Yep, he's got all his physical games here. Domino's Pizza said, did someone order a digital pizza? Yo, Domino's flaming them. Someone named KJN Gamer laid out their physical games in a word that says, or in a sentence, in a statement that says, fuck Sony. Then it's just a lot of different things like that. A lot of people posting their physical game library. I don't even know if this is actually this person's physical game library. I can only assume that it is, but physical game libraries, no disc, no buy. Address the elephant in the room. I think this is actually a pretty good thing right here. Lots of stuff like that. Yeah, I don't want to scroll too far because then you start to get into that weird part of Twitter. But yeah, they got completely flamed. The post itself got 11K likes on it, but like a lot of people got just went over that 11K. Specifically, Domino's with 162,000 likes on that post. This fuck Sony one, 101,000 likes. They tweeted, "Go get 'em" with the fish from Bikini Bottom. 71,000 likes, 65,000 likes. No discs, no buy. I believe in physical media. 35,000 likes. Address the elephant in the room. 76,000. So they got completely and utterly destroyed out there. I don't know if they've posted again since that. Yes, they posted something about Elder Scrolls Online, which is a whole nother thing. Apparently, a lot of people from Elder Scrolls Online got laid off recently. They even got community noted for some reason for this Elder Scrolls post. It says Sony's sudden pivot to digital without informing partners, its poor digital ecosystem in pivotal markets, desperation to erase retail and resale, and executives selling off stock, such as massive corporate instability. This content may not last long. Which is like, okay, it's I mean, it's true, but at the same time, it does. I mean, it doesn't really make sense for this particular Elder Scrolls thing there. It looks like they've posted a lot since then. So and it looks like a lot of their posts do have this purchase warning community guidelines thing that I just read out there. Even on the PlayStation Plus post, damn, they are like, hey, there you go. Community note here underneath the original important updates where they announced digital games only. This says digital purchases are licenses, not ownership. Sony can revoke access. This raises concerns about long-term ownership, game preservation, resale, lending, and resilience on servers and reliance on servers and stores, which is like true. Like all that is true, right? All that is true. So yeah, so July 1st is when they posted that, and then they posted the new Flex Strike flight stick on July 7th. So they waited 6 days to post something afterwards, which is probably the longest that they've gone without tweeting. And then they've kind of then it's kind of been business as usual, retweets, a couple of posts here and there, but they're definitely being flamed by not just the community notes, but by people in the comments still, which will probably be happening for quite some time. That is that. But also at the same time, a petition to stop this disc-free environment has 200,000 signatures. Remember last week I got very upset because people were claiming, who cares about physical media? Who cares? No one cares. It's all just fake. It's all just fake uproar. 200,000 signatures is not anything to scoff at. I feel like this kind of proves the point of like, yeah, I mean, this is a big deal. And of course, this will probably be getting more and more signatures as time goes on. Right now it's at 213,022 at the writing of this article. Let's go to the petition itself. 234,622 right there. I'm just gonna go ahead and sign this myself. Sony will use this against me. I don't want to display my name on the petition, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and sign that myself. There you go. One more signature there. Boom, bada, bing. I do not want to chip into the fun, though. But look, I mean, this just proves that like people do care. Like, I mean, you can say that it's fake. It's all just like fake uproar. It's not. It's really not. I just. It's moments like this that make me happy because it's like, yeah, okay, I'm not crazy. I'm not like one of 100-something people who are angry about this. Like, there are people who care. There are people who are out there signing petitions, making their voice be known, letting Sony know like, hey, this is a bad idea. And look, if they want to shut down the PS3 online and PS Vita online stores, like, we can't really stop them at this point. We halted that gate for a little while. We held them back, but that floodgate was going to burst open eventually. But this is something that we can definitely change. This is something we can definitely say like, hey, put an attachable. Like, the PS5 is technically a digital console, but guess what? You have the option to add a disc drive onto it. Just do the same thing. Keep making printing discs. And of course, the main like pushback for that sentiment is like, well, the disc is just it's pretty much just a code in the box anyway. It's just an unlock thing. You don't even play the game on the disc anymore. That's not the point. The point is that like, as long as I have that disc, I can put it into my console and I can play that game. And whether my account gets banned or hacked or whatever, as long as I have that physical game, I can play that game wherever. I can sell that game. I can share that game. I know there's not like that many people sharing games at this point, but still, like, the sentiment is there. I can share that game. I can go over to my friend's house with a copy of Saros and I can load it into their PlayStation, download it on their PlayStation and play it, So until that day comes where if I put a game disc into my PlayStation and it says cannot download additional content because servers are offline, I'm going to keep saying physical games, no matter what, are important. And just shipping out Grand Theft Auto in a code in a box situation is not good enough. Going discless is not good. It's just not a good thing in general. And look, maybe they're stopping production on PlayStation discs because they're going to cartridges. They're following Nintendo. They're going back to cartridges. Maybe that's the thing. They're gonna put out like little PlayStation Vita cartridges. Maybe that's what they're doing. I doubt it. But until then, we don't really know. Until the PS6 gets announced and until they really show us what that thing is going to be able to do or what it's going to be like, we don't know. We just don't know. At this point, it's like, Sony, read the room. I mean, look, I also think that a lot of upper management and CEO stuff in Sony are going to be like, it'll pass. This will pass. People will come back around. The problem is, though, unlike Xbox, you haven't really shown anything positive coming from PlayStation in quite some time. Like, yeah, the games are still high quality, but here's the thing. Digital only in the future. They're going back to live service games, like, even though most of the live service games have not worked out for them, except for Helldivers 2. They're going back to that. PlayStation Plus, not really worth it in the long run either. Like, I feel like if you have like the premium version of PlayStation Plus, you're not getting good value for the money you're spending there, right? Like, there's so much that you can say that's like negative right now about Sony. And look, I still am a fan of PlayStation Studios. I think that the games they put out are very high quality. I'm still excited about Wolverine. I'm still excited about God of War Trilogy. I'm still excited about whatever, right? I'm still excited about these things. The problem is, though, is that the parent company of these studios is doing a lot of dumb things. And if you can't at least agree with that, then there's no hope out there, right? If I can't make a blanket statement of Sony's being stupid without getting tons of shit online, what the fuck are we doing? Can you at least admit that this is stupid? Can you at least admit that people losing their jobs is bad? No, we can't do that because I'm licking the fucking boots of PlayStation. I'm licking the fucking taint of Xbox. What the fuck? Okay? You don't have, like, you can be a fan of Nintendo, PlayStation, Steam, Valve, Xbox, whoever. You can be a fan of whatever fucking company you want. But the minute they do something wrong does not mean that you need to get on your fucking knees and start gobbling their fucking dick, okay? You can be critical of your favorite companies. I was critical of Nintendo when Mario Kart World still hasn't gotten a lick of new content that's actually meaningful, right? I have been critical of Nintendo. I've been understanding as well, but I've been pretty critical of Nintendo. I still enjoy PlayStation, but guess what? Through the years, I've been critical of them when it needs to be said, when things need to be said about them. Same thing with Xbox. I like Phil Spencer as a person, but fuck, man, he made me rant so many times on this podcast because guess what? As much as I enjoy Halo or Gears of War or Xbox as a brand in general, I'm still going to criticize them when it needs to be said, when criticism needs to happen. I am not going to sit here, get on my knees and go, well, actually, PlayStation going digital only is a good thing, simply because they said it is. Like, that is not how I operate. That is not how anyone should operate. These giant corporations do not care about you. Let me be clear. Let me say it one more time for the people all the way in the back. PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, Valve, etc. do not care about you. The creators of Fortnite, Epic Games, they do not care. They care about one thing, and that is your money. And as long as you are giving them your money for skins, games, consoles, subscription services, digital purchases, etc., They do not care if you're going to get upset about digital-only games. They're not going to care if you get upset about layoffs. They're not going to care if you get upset about a $50 price increase on the Switch 2, which is honestly very sane in this market. Very sane in this fucking market right now. Okay? Valve is not going to care that I am critical of the price tag of the Valve Cube, okay? The problem is that 10,000 fucking slong gobblers are buying up the system. And so it doesn't matter if the system is overpriced and underpowered. What matters is that they already sold however many units. They're selling out of the units, right? That's all that matters to them. So at the and a lot of these people are just scalpers too, which is like inflating those numbers. But at the same time, like you can be excited about the Steam Cube. You can be excited about buying that thing and playing it. That's fine, but be critical of it as well. You can still be critical of it as well. You can still say like, hey, digital games should not be the only way I can play a game, right? That is just like basic human shit. This is basic economic shit. You take away options from the consumer, you are forced into a monopoly of digital games. It's not going to be good for anyone. This is going like digital only games is going to bite you in the ass eventually down the road. You're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on digital games, and they're going to be gone when those PlayStation 4 servers shut down, right? Or PlayStation 5 or Xbox or Nintendo Wii U, right? All those digital purchases could be gone. Like, it's nice that you can still download things on the Wii U if you already purchased them, but eventually down the road, that's probably going to go away because they're not going to want to keep those things up and running. And I'll be critical of that of Nintendo if they ever do that, right? Same thing like with PlayStation, Xbox, etc., etc. You do not need to be like you don't have like you can still be a number one fan of PlayStation while still giving them some shit. All I ask for is some shit. You don't have to give them all the shit. You don't have to give them like an entire mound of shit like Jurassic Park. Like that's a big pile of shit. Like you don't have to do that, but just be generally critical of these poor decisions. That's all you need to do, because the more and more you just suck, the less that PlayStation and other large corporations are going to care. And once again, I will reiterate this point from last week. You're not being paid to do this. Now, I would hope you're not being paid to do this. You are not going to become the new marketing director of PlayStation. You're not going to be paid by PlayStation. They're not going to favor you any more than they do right now, which is very little. Actually, they don't favor you at all, right? None of this stuff, like anything that you're saying or doing, this visceral, like negative, super toxic way that people are responding to anyone with any slight criticism for these giant corporations, they don't care. They don't care about you. They are not going to pay for your water bill. They are not going to give you a free game, a free console. They are not going to do anything. What they care about is your money. That's all they fucking care about. So stop being such fucking dick suckers and actually be critical when these companies deserve to have criticism levied towards them. Thank you. Holy shit. Let's move on. All right, so Nintendo Switch 1 is going to be stopping production in Europe in February of 2027. And other countries are probably going to follow suit in the long run here. Eventually down the road. As of right now, they did put out a statement to IGN saying, we plan to continue selling Nintendo Switch in regions outside of Nintendo of Europe. The main reason why they are doing this right here, the main reason why they are stopping production of the Switch 1 in Europe is because new laws are being passed in Europe for the console to now use replaceable batteries or something of that sort, right? This was a new thing coming down from like the UN essentially, where if you have a device like a phone, gaming console, controller, etc., etc., these things either need to be completely rechargeable, they need to be able to have their batteries replaced, etc., etc. So. In an FAQ section in an article about the battery replacement revisions, they said from mid-February 2027, almost 10 years after Nintendo Switch launched in March of 2017, Nintendo will no longer sell to retailers hardware in the Nintendo Switch family of systems, specifically Nintendo Switch Lite, and Nintendo Switch OLED models. Sales of Nintendo Switch hardware on Nintendo Store will also end in mid-February 2027. Regarding availability at retail, please check with your local retailers in the future for more information. Nintendo Switch has an extensive library of games that continue to grow, and Nintendo Switch owners can continue to enjoy all their existing Nintendo games and accessories, and Nintendo eShop, Nintendo Switch Online, and other services will continue for the foreseeable future. So I think instead of revising the Switch 1, now they probably are going to be forced to revise the Switch 2 in some way, right? But instead of revising the Switch 1 and its various models, they're just saying, hey, in Europe, we're just going to say, no more Switch 1. Which, like, I just got off of this whole thing about, hey, be critical about a company when they deserve to be criticized. My whole thing is like, yeah, but the Switch has kind of run its course, right? In a lot of ways. Do I still think they should sell or they should revive or revive the design of the Switch to adhere to these laws? Yeah, sure. But also at the same time, I can see like, it's a 10-year-old console. They're probably not looking to sell much more of it anyway in the grand scope of things, like globally. We already know that they're moving away from, I believe Rhythm Heaven Groove is their last official like Switch 1 like game, right? They're moving away from the regular Switch, and they're just they're going to start putting things just on Switch 2. So it makes sense there. I don't think they deserve to be like, I don't think they deserve too much criticism for this, essentially because, yeah, one, like, it's an older console. Two, they're not going to be producing games for it anymore from Nintendo, right? And three, they're not going to spend the money and the time to redesign the console in order to sell maybe another 1,000 or so units, right, in Europe. And I'm sure people would buy it, sure. Like, I'm sure it will still move some sort of numbers, but at this point, it's like, why even worry about it at this point? Like, at least I can get that, right? At least I can understand that. But yeah, as of right now, the Switch 1 will stop production in Europe, or stop being sold in Europe, and that is from February 2027 onward. So if you want a Switch 1, get a Switch 1. Before they go out of stock, right? Before they go out of stock. Like I said with the Switch 2, like they're giving you some time to go out and get one if you want one. And February is still a pretty while away. So if you are someone in Europe who is trying to save up for a Switch 1 console, set aside like €50 a month or whatever. Build up that money, buy it before they decide to stop putting them on shelves, and there you go. I said the same thing about the Switch 2 when they were raising the price on that. Like, if you're waiting to buy a Switch 2, it's better to buy it now before it starts going up in price. And we know that it's going to keep going up in price. These things are going to keep going up in price. So you still have until like September 1st in order to buy a Switch 2. So if you saved $50 a week, that's 100, 200. Well, I guess 200 is not enough. But I guess $50 a week. So that would be 200, 400 by the time you get to September. Like, all you got to do is push a little bit more to get that or whatever, right? So there's ways to do this, right? Obviously not everyone's going to have the flexible money that other people have, but at the same time, like, there are ways to do this. And then when they originally announced that they were raising the price to Switch 2, it'd be a lot easier to save $100 a month then than it is now. But at least with the Switch 1, like, February is still about a half a year away, a little bit more, maybe not more, but but about a half a year away. So you could essentially save up like €100 a month, buy a $250 Switch, and there you go. But at the same time, it's like, if you're just gonna buy a Switch, why not just like wait for, like, save a little bit more money and get a Switch 2? I don't know. It's your money. You decide to do what you want to do with it. I'm not going to stop you from doing whatever you want with your money, right? Yeah, there you go. I forgot to read the statement from Greedy Waffles. I saw it and I was like, oh, that's a good statement, and I wanted to read it with my with PlayStation. But I guess I'll be reading it now. He said, I saw a post that says you can pretty much say fuck Sony and you'll get 1K likes. I think PlayStation was hoping Xbox was going to have worse news than them. Right, yeah, exactly. Which they kind of did with the whole layoff thing. We're going to keep on the track of Nintendo here, and we're going to go over to a review. All right, so it's hello, Randy. How are you doing, buddy? So it's playing on the TV behind me for this whole segment here. I'm just gonna reset the footage back to the start. Rhythm Heaven Groove. Now, I originally was not planning on getting this game, if you remember correctly. I was like, it's like whatever kind of thing. It's like, okay, I mean, do they really need to spend this much time talking about Rhythm Heaven? It's just a rhythm game at the end of the day, right? And technically, yes, it is a pretty basic rhythm game, but I decided to buy it because I said, you know what, Nintendo, you're doing well. You're doing well in the grand sense, in the grand scheme of things, right? They gave their developers pay raises. They're only raising the Switch 2 price by $50, which once again, I don't like that they're raising the price, but at least if you're gonna raise the price, like $50 is actually not that bad. Compared to other companies, right? Like Xbox did. Like Nintendo, you're doing a lot better than than other companies, right? So I said, you know what? Nintendo right now is kind of on the top of my list. They're doing good things. Like they had a rough start of the year with Mario Tennis and stuff like that. Obviously, Pokopia and Tomodachi Life were big for other people, but not necessarily for me. And they had a bit of a rough end to their year last year with Metroid, and even like Hyrule Warriors was like fine, but it wasn't like a system seller, right? It wasn't like a crazy game, right? So I said, you know what? You're doing well. The game is $40. Like I'm not gonna, be out of. Hey, stop it! Licking his butthole, pretty gross. Wow, Randy, thank you so much for that. It's $40. I'm not gonna be out of house and home spending $40. I thought I did find it a bit weird that they're releasing Splatoon Raiders this same month at the end of the month. And I decided to pre-order that as well because it's $10 off. You get the physical version on Amazon and Walmart, as I've said before. So it actually makes sense to pre-order this, especially because it's a physical game on a physical cartridge. I don't want to get back into that. So yes, I decided to get Rhythm Heaven Groove, and I've played a fair amount of it so far. I'm about like 4 chapters in, and I've played some of the side modes. And it's quite fun in general. I don't think it's not one of these games where I can play for hours on end, but I do a row of rhythm games and I say that was fun, and then I move on to something else, which you could say is a bit of a criticism, but I feel like it's more of maybe a me thing, because I'm sure there's people who can knock this game out in one sitting. I think the game is like 2.5 hours long in general. Nat. Where did that come from? Just randomly appeared out of nowhere. We're getting distracted during this review, or first. It's first impression. I pressed the review one, didn't I? I meant first impressions. Dang! This isn't a review. This isn't a review, by the way. Anyway, so I think that the rhythm games are in general fun. They're pretty simple. Most of them only use 2 button inputs. Most of them just use 1 actually. But it's a fun little time. Like even if you're a kid, you can probably understand timing and stuff like that, or at least maybe this could teach you some timing and whatnot. But it's one of these games where it's like I play a row of rhythm games. You do like the big finale where they have all the games kind of together and they kind of are working together for the song, and it's fun and it's nice. It's not bad at all. But the problem is that like I get burnt out of these like simple games pretty quickly. So doing a row of rhythm games is like that's enough for me, right? Like the first row is like jump through a hoop by pressing A at the right time. the umbrella one. You do like an umbrella game. There's a dog catching a frisbee, and then there's one more. The frogs. You lift up the lily pad at the right time, and 3 out of the 4 of these mini games uses one button. The one that's a little bit more intricate is the umbrella one, where you press down to close your umbrella and you press A to open your umbrella. And it's a little bit more interesting. It's a little bit more challenging in a lot of different ways. Not just because there's 2 buttons, but also like the idea of the mini game is like doing things in the right pattern and stuff like that. So it's more reliant on you learning the cues and stuff like that and whatnot. Whereas the other ones are like, okay, you can really just like watch the screen and press A at the same time every time the frog is there. You don't really need to learn the rhythm because you can just watch the screen. Or like with the dog one, where you catch the frisbee. It's always 7 seconds after she throws the frisbee that you press the A button on 7. So yeah, you can count it out with the beat and whatnot, but also you can just like watch the screen. And of course, while you're playing, they do like shake the screen or put something in front of the screen or obscure it in some way. So it's not like you can own like it's not like you can lean on that for the entire time. But for probably about 90% of the mini game, you can just like watch the screen and do it, right? But as a person who was in band and does play instruments, right, it is a little bit more easy for me to get the rhythm down and do things on the beat. But for someone who's just learning, I think this would be a good way to learn how to count on the beat and stuff like that. Obviously, things get more challenging as it goes on, but the first like row of games are simple enough where it's like, okay, you can get this concept down pretty fast. And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's a bit simple, it's a bit basic, but it's still pretty fun. The music's bopping, the little characters are cute. It's definitely much more like a WarioWare type thing where it only takes like a minute at most to play through most of the games. They're not like they're not like super challenging. Like some of them are a little bit more difficult, sure, but they're not like super challenging. You get you get some practice beforehand, which kind of gives you the idea of the game, and then you can just kind of go and do it and stuff like that. And it does also have a similar art style to something like WarioWare. What is it called? Like Stick It Together or whatever it was called. Get It Together, not Stick It Together. Get It Together. It does have that similar art style as Get It Together, where it's a little bit more cartoony and stuff like that. And so I don't know if I've never played the other Rhythm Heaven games. I assume that they're kind of the same style, and I don't know if this game was made by the developers of the WarioWare series either. But I think it's a fun little game, a fun little swan song, literally and figuratively, for the Switch One generation. If this truly is the final Switch One game we're getting from Nintendo, I think it's going out on a bit of a bang. Like I think it's fun, right? I don't think it's I think if you buy this game knowing what it is, you're going to have a good time with it. Knowing that, yeah, it's not going to give you like 10, 15 hours of gameplay, but the 2-3 hours that you get out of it is going to be fun. It's going to have a little bit of replay value. The side modes, there's going to be a little bit of something there. Like the Magic Duel mode is pretty cool. It's not the most intuitive or in-depth thing ever, but you have attacks, you have spells, you have healing. It's interesting enough, and the music is bopping enough, and the character designs are fun enough that it's not like it doesn't feel like I'm getting ripped off by buying this game for $40, right? And that's the other thing too. Like they definitely could have put this game at a $60 price tag or a $50 price tag just because. But they're putting it at $40. I think that's pretty fair. And if you want to wait for a sale, I'm sure it will go on sale for like $20 on Black Friday or something like that. I don't think that's a bad price at all for this game. So in general, I think it's fun. I think it does its job. It's a rhythm game. You know what you're getting into. The only people who are going to be angry about this game are the people who don't know what it is. They're expecting more of maybe a WarioWare or Mario teaches painting or something like that. I don't know, typing. I don't know, something like that. Like they're expecting something else. But the game is what it is. It's a rhythm game. We've seen enough of it, right? It's a little bit basic, but it's pretty fun. It's fun and it gets the job done, which is I think the same thing that people really said about that new Yoshi game, the Mysterious Book or whatever it's called. It's a bit basic, but it gets the job done. It's fun, and I say the same thing about this game. It gets the job done. You know what it's going to be. It's a rhythm game. It's a little bit basic, but it gets the fucking job done, and it does it well. It does it well. So take that with what you will. I'll probably finish up some thoughts about this next week because I do plan on finishing it. I don't think it's like that long of a game, right? And we'll go from there. We'll go from there. If you want to check it out if you so desire. All right, let's move back to some more news. The developer of Pokemon Go has changed their name. So their old name was Niantic, which is like, it's a name. It's fine. I'm not like critical of that. But this new name that they've come up with is a little weird. It's a little weird. So they're calling the new company's called Scopely Explore. And their logo is an S that kind of looks like Porygon. It's made up of triangles, which I mean could maybe be a reference. I doubt it. But let's see what they had to say in their statement about the new name for the developer. Exploration sits at the heart of these games and experiences and the communities they serve. Whether encouraging players to discover new places, connect with others, or experience the world in new ways, this team has always been united by a belief that there is more to explore. Scopely Explore is not a separate company or subsidiary. It is a mission driven within Scopely. Like all the experiences in our portfolio, these games are products. They're developed and published by Scopely. Scopely Explore will continue building experiences that inspire people to go outside, connect with one another, and explore the world together for many years to come as part of Scopely. So it's just weird. I just feel like just keep the name Niantic. Like, does it really matter? It has a nice ring to it. Nyan Cat. Pretty big meme back in the day. $3.5 billion. Let them keep the fucking name. Don't make them change their name. $3.5 billion. Let them keep the fucking name. It doesn't fucking matter. I think the logo is in general fine. I don't know what else you want me to say about that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I really gotta say about this. It's a new name for Niantic. What do you fucking want? But continuing our mobile game segment here, Mario Kart Tour is officially going offline in September. This is pretty big news. I mean, this is one of those games where you gotta spend money to get new carts and those warp pipe things. I know they made that stuff free eventually down the road when they were starting to sunset the game. But the permanent pit stop, as NintendoLife.com says here, will be on September 30th at 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 p.m. Pacific Time on the 29th, the day before. I mean, this is pretty big, right? Mario Kart Tour was a pretty big jump into mobile gaming for Nintendo. This was much more involved than Mario Run or the Animal Crossing Pocket Camp or Pikmin Bloom or whatever, right? Like, this was definitely a much more it was much more of an experience than those other games, right? And it was definitely modeled off of the arcade game that they put out as well. But it had a lot of classic tracks in it. They could literally put anything they wanted into the game. Lots of really unique carts and stuff like that. Outfits for the characters. Like, there was so much here. And yeah, the loot box system, the loot pipe system, was very predatory. But at the end of the day, like, they did make everything free. Free warp pipes and stuff like that. In the shop in 2020. What was it, like 2025 or something like that? It doesn't matter. But yeah, now it's officially being closed down. So I believe it won't even be playable offline. Which, yeah, that's shitty. Like, that sucks. Especially for the people who put money into the game or who really enjoy the game. Like, why not keep it off, an offline version be available? It doesn't really make sense. So Animal Crossing Pocket Camp shut down in 2024. It was replaced by a paid offline version of it. But Nintendo states that a similar deal for Mario Kart Tour is not scheduled for release, which is kind of crazy. So here's where I was talking about before. Automatic Gold Pass subscription renewals will be canceled on July 7th. So that means you won't be able to pay for a Gold Pass membership. You will get the access to the benefits until the closure of the game. There will be some sort of vacation tour on August 4th, which will be a free for everyone type thing. All Ruby sales have ended in the app. You can still purchase currency on the Spotlight Shop, Me Racing Suit Shop, and Coin Rush modes until close in December or September. Yeah, like I said, it's a little shitty that they're shutting this down. It doesn't really make sense that they're shutting this down. I mean, I feel like this game probably still has a good amount of people playing it. Maybe not everyone's spending money on it anymore, but I feel like there's still people playing this game. It was pretty big for quite some time. It did have a nice lifespan, I guess, but at the same time, like, does it really need to be shut down permanently? Like, you can definitely do a paid offline version. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But if Nintendo says, like, hey, we don't want to do that, then they're just not going to do it, you know? I also feel like, you know, maybe you could release like a Switch version of this. Like, just put it out on Switch and Switch 2. Like, I feel like there's totally a way for you to do that and keep this game alive, right? That's how Star Wars Hunters was. It was a mobile and Switch. I feel like you can do that with Mario Kart Tour as well. And you made an offline version for Pocket Camp, so it doesn't even make sense that you're not going to make an offline version for Mario Kart Tour. It just doesn't make sense. And like, you can kind of see the writing on the wall a little bit, because they did release the booster course pass for Mario Kart 8, which had a lot of Mario Kart Tour tracks in it. But at the same time, too, it's like you don't really need it's not like it's a replacement for the game. It's just like being able to play those tracks on a normal game, right? Not just like a mobile game. So yeah, it sucks, and this is one of those ones that I don't agree with. And I think that they should definitely release at least an offline version of the game. But yeah, as of right now, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So there is that. All right, what is coming soon? Randy's Toy. Onimusha is coming sooner rather than later. They decided to move the release date of Onimusha up to September 4th, 2026. In a post on social media, they said, "We are delighted to bring Onimusha Way of the Sword to you earlier on September 4th, 2026, which takes it out of that really packed end of the month that has Wolverine, Control Resident, Silent Hill, the Blood of the Dawn Walker, like Hot Wheels, the new Hot Wheels game as well. A lot of companies forget about that game for some reason. So this actually means that I might actually buy the game because it's coming out before Wolverine. I like, that's the thing. I talked about the demo for this game, and I really enjoyed that demo a lot. But I was like, well, it's too bad because, you know, Control Resident comes out the same day, and Marvel's Wolverine comes out like the week before. So it was one of those things where it's like, yeah, I don't know if I'll find the time to play Onimusha. But if it's coming out at the beginning of September before Wolverine comes out, I feel like, yeah, I mean that I mean, I have a whole like week and a half to play Onimusha and enjoy that before Wolverine comes out. So yeah, honestly, I actually might buy Onimusha now because it's being taken out of this cramped end of the month. So that's pretty cool. Love that. What else is coming soon, you might ask? Well, we got the physical version of Silent Hill, The Short Message. This is coming from Limited Run Games. This is one of those games where I say, yeah, it was not good. I think that I gave my review and my thoughts about that when this originally came out. I think I ended up giving it like a 1.5 or a 2 just because it's such a dangerous game for people with mental illnesses or like depression, you know. I felt like the message in The Short Message was muddled and just like not really maturely presented in the way that it should have been. A lot of people claim like it's not really even a Silent Hill game either. Yeah, it's more of like a Slender Man game at the end of the day, right? It was more of a showcase as well, like a little bit of a showcase, like this is what we're working on, this is our new engine, blah blah blah. So it's one. The other side of this though is It's cool we're getting a physical edition of this because this is one of those games where you never would have thought about that in a million years. And if you're a person who is a collector of physical media, like a lot of people out there, this is probably going to be one of those ones that's going to go up in price as it gets older because it is such a limited release, limited run games. So it's going to be $70. There is not a cheaper version of this game for some reason. So yes, $70 for this game. The physical deluxe edition will have the game made exclusively for the deluxe edition, not sold separately, a set of art cards featuring Maya's graffiti art and sketches, an art poster, a Sakura acrylic chain, and an individually numbered certificate of authenticity. Yes. Honestly, this collector's edition is pretty weak. It is pretty weak. First off, the game was free on PlayStation and other platforms, right? The game was free. So this is a $70 uptick for like a physical, like just release the game separately for $30. I feel like that would be totally fine, right? But you're forcing me to get a $70 collector's edition with paper and a keychain. Come on, limited run. This just looks bad. It really does. So yeah, at the end of the day, like I'm probably not gonna get this. I haven't really bought too much from limited run in the past couple of about a year now. I haven't really bought anything from them. But pre-orders start on July 10th. They end August 9th. The game is probably gonna ship later in the year, maybe even next year. Yeah, there you go. The reason why I didn't say $20 is because $30 is the like baseline like limited run price tag for a physical disc. I'm pretty sure it just kind of covers production costs and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's not worth $70. It's not worth $30. No, but this is more of like, hey, if you're a collector and you love Silent Hill and you just want to get everything that Silent Hill puts out, or if you just want to get this because it's a niche little thing, you'll probably want to fork over the money. Yeah, I mean the game is not worth it. I never said the game was worth it. But if you're a collector, this is probably going to look good in your collection. And I'm guessing most of these boxes are not going to be opened because the game, I believe, is still available on storefronts. So yeah, there you go. All right, what else is coming soon, you might ask? Moss 1 and 2 are coming to Switch 1 and 2. Official versions on the console. These games were originally released as PSVR games. So Moss and Moss Book 2. They're releasing on the same day, of course, in a bundle called Moss the Forgotten Relic. And they're both going to be available for $20 in a bundle, which is really nice. You can pre-order them now if you so desire. In the press release, they said the adventure itself is the same on both systems, but Nintendo Switch 2 gives us more headroom to present the world with greater fidelity. This comes from director Cyril St. Griones. Very nice. The game is going to have higher resolution, a fixed 60 FPS, improved anti-aliasing, enhanced lighting, and visual effects. The depth of field helps emphasize Quill. What the fuck? Emphasize Quill and the scale of the environments around her. So sounds like a pretty nice, I don't know, not really remaster, but nice re-release of this game. Giving both games a Switch 2 treatment. Very nice right there. I guess there's another blurb here. The biggest challenge in adapting Moss for Nintendo Switch was preserving the relationship without the player's physical release in VR. Rather than trying to replicate it, we reimagined how the reader is represented. We also revisited key cinematic moments so those interactions between the reader and Quill feel more intentional and emotionally resonant on TV or handheld screen. So I guess that's how they're switching from VR to like just a regular game, right? Oh, hey, Maz. How you doing today? Hope you're doing well. Maz was actually playing Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced, my least favorite remastered name ever, but Resynced, I guess he was playing that for a couple of hours now, huh? The game looked great. Maz. But yeah, welcome in. Thank you so much for the raid. Welcome in Maz. Welcome in Chandra Bear 12. I was gonna say this during your stream, but I forgot to. You know, I'm open to you coming on to the podcast and giving some thoughts about the game if you so desire, Maz. You know, this is a public podcast, so you know I would be very happy to have you on if you want to. But I understand also, like, you just did like a long stream. Like, if you just want to like chill out and just like, you know, fuck off, you know, you can do that too. But yeah, Moss 1 and 2, that's going to be available soon. I think it's a good bundle, a good little bundle. And also, if you like mice, you know, if you like mice, pretty good mouse game. You do have time. Nice. Happy to circle back next week if you'd like that, though. Well, since you got to play the game early, it would be cool for you to give some thoughts right now. If you're available in my Discord, there is a section for Ferret64, and if you go into the waiting room, I can pull you over into the live podcast. And if you have a camera, that you want to use too, I can have you on the screen as well. And yeah, 10 minutes. That is fine. That is fine. If you want the 10 minutes, I'll just finish up these two topics here, and then we'll get to that. So we have a preview. You can go hands-on with Switch Sports Resort at the San Diego Comic-Con later this month. So you might be asking yourself, Yummy, why did you put this in the rotation of news articles? You're not really that excited for this game. So why are you excited about San Diego Comic-Con having a playable version of this game between the 23rd and 26th of July? Well, let me start off by saying, attendees, you can try out 4 of the 12 different sports games. I'm sure one of them is going to be thumb wrestling, because, you know, whatever. You need to join a queue for the chance of playing the resort game. Here's the big news, folks. This is the big news right here, okay? Okay? You'll be able to watch gameplay on the promenade, you know, whatever. Family-friendly sporting activities will be held there. But if you manage to get into the Nintendo Switch Sports Resort preview event, you will be able to put your skills to the test on July 23rd and go head-to-head with the one and only Rizzler, baby. The Rizzler. That's right. You can challenge the Rizzler to one of 4 different sporting events. That is pretty fucking crazy, folks. That is pretty fucking insane, am I right? The Rizzler, known for his big booms. He has an Arizona tea like flavor. Like, it's crazy. The Rizzler is here. The Rizzler is here to stay, folks. The Rizzler, baby. The fucking Rizzler. So if you want the chance to fight the Rizzler in the ring, you need to go to San Diego Comic-Con, and only on July 23rd is when he will be there and playing the game. Who knows for how long he'll be playing the game, but he'll be there. He'll be there. He'll be playing the game. The game officially releases on Switch 2 on the 22nd of October, so it is a pretty nice preview there. Apparently, Splatoon Raiders will also be available to play at the event as well. That launches on July 23rd, so you'll be able to play, I guess, the same day. But yeah, that's pretty crazy. The Rizzler, Nintendo teaming up with the Rizzler, never could have seen the day. If you don't know who the Rizzler is, Breyer actually gave a pretty nice crash course earlier in his on his live stream. Hey, how's it going today, Mrs. Mastek? Hope you're doing well. Costco guys, big boom. So he comes from the Costco guys family. I don't have audio on.
So sorry to hear. Oh, we're so sorry to hear about your brother that passed away. He gets 5 big booms. Boom! 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 Boom!
Yeah. That's kind of their whole thing. The Rizzler himself is this kid who does the little I don't know, what does he even do really? He just kind of stands there and does his little thing. Look, I'm not gonna hate on the people probably came here. They're like, hate on the Rizzler, He's a little kid. He's a fucking child, okay? Like, I'm not going to hate on the Rizzler. Like, he's just a kid, okay? Let him do his thing. I mean, is it cringe? Sure, it's cringe. All right, we're not gonna listen to that full thing, but he's just a little kid. Let him do his thing. I think it's actually genuinely sweet that Nintendo is having him play the game with other people, right? I think it's genuinely sweet. I'm sure the kid is a nice kid and all that stuff. He obviously, his rise to fame is crazy, and it's wild that he is so wildly popular out there in just in the world in general. But just let the kid do his thing. Like, I don't think he needs any unintentional. I think it's funny that that the Rizzler is the main event for the Switch Resort showcase at San Diego Comic-Con, but also, like, good for him, you know. Like, this is like, I would dream of doing something like this for a Nintendo game back when I was a kid. Like, you know, put me in the booth for Star Fox Assault or Smash Brothers or Mario Sun. Like, put me in the booth for that. Like, I would be there in a second. I would be so happy about that. Like, I think this genuinely is a very nice thing for Nintendo to do. I think that the Rizzler himself, like, you can think whatever you want about the Rizzler. Like, I don't fucking care. I think the Rizzler himself, like, I think this is pretty big for him, and like, it's really nice. Like, he's a kid. His whole future is essentially paid for at this point, right? Like, he will never have to worry about money. But like, hey man, you did your thing. You got super popular online, and he's been non-controversial. Let's fucking go. So yeah, if you want to meet the Rizzler and you want to play a Nintendo Switch Resort early, like, there you go. There you go. And then finally for today, we have one more thing coming soon. And I say finally, but we do have possibly a special guest coming on. Nintendo Switch online service is expanding its Game Boy and Game Boy Advance library with 4 new games, 3 of them being on the original Game Boy and 1 of them being on Game Boy Advance, which is only available through the Expansion Pass service. So the Game Boy games are Wario Land, Super Mario Land 3. It's crazy that we're getting this game after Wario Land, 4 or whatever it was, right? But that's pretty cool. Sword of Hope 2. This is a turn-based RPG on the Game Boy, and Fortified Zone, which is like a top-down 3D shooter on the Game Boy, which, you know, might be a little bit fun. And then the Game Boy Advance, Dr. Mario and Puzzle League. It's always fun to get a Dr. Mario game. I think those games are incredibly fun. Not incredibly memorable, but very fun. The music is obviously top-notch. And then, of course, it comes with Puzzle League as well, which is a pretty fun little puzzle game. If you're in Japan or if you have an account for Japan, Tomato Adventure is going to be available as well. This is made by the same people who did the Mario and Luigi series, which is kind of cool. Alpha Dream. I just want to pull up this Tomato game. I've never heard of this Tomato game before. Looks like it's a turn-based RPG, very much in the same style of the Mario and Luigi games. So that's kind of cool. Maybe the origins of the Mario and Luigi games. That's kind of cool. You know, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. Maz is in the waiting room. Oh my gosh, dog. This dude is wanting to distract me so hardcore. I need to make sure my audio settings are right before we bring Maz in, just so I don't have that second of like, Maz, can you hear me? Maz, hello. Pull him over there. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Hello. Is Maztec Gaming there?
Yes, sir.
What is up, Maztec Gaming? How are you doing today?
What's up, buddy?
AKA
I'm
Maz.
good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing quite well. Maz, a small sparrow told me that you got access to Assassin's Creed Black Flag resynced early. Are the allegations true?
No, I think that it's actually, I was quite pleased with it, honestly. It was better than I thought it was going to be. What I was really worried about was there were a lot of rumors out there that it was going to be like RPG mechanics, and that they didn't do that. They did change the combat from the original, but it's definitely I was definitely pleased with it for sure. It was a lot of fun. We just finished a 7-hour stream of it, so we were streaming it since noon. So
that's pretty crazy. But I just want to say one huge congratulations to you. You got the game from Ubisoft. Got the game early from Ubisoft. You got the deluxe edition of the game early from Ubisoft. That's big. That's huge. I'm really happy for you. Congratulations on that. I mean, you've been doing a lot of content for not only Black Flag, but also indie games as well. So kind of mixing some things in there too. I think that that's huge. It's huge. I'm so happy for you.
I appreciate that, man. I do appreciate that.
So you mentioned the combat is different. I've seen all these things. I was watching your stream, but for the people who haven't seen the gameplay changes for Black Flag, what is different from the original game to Resynced?
So the original was really a counter kill type mechanic, and it was just kind of like almost like a rock paper scissors type mentality. So like if depending on what buttons you were pushing, if one of the soldiers attacks you, you can just automatically like counter and kill them. And it as fun as that was for the way that game is built, it does get a little tedious, a little bit boring. Now they've got a parry and a perfect parry system. Not as unforgiving as like a Dark Souls type thing, but it definitely is inspired from that type of combat. So if you can mash the button still if you want to, and break down that that enemy's defense, or you can hit that parry and it just completely breaks through their defense, and then you can insta kill them, or you can continue to beat up on them. So a little bit more variety to the combat, a little bit more challenging, but not really.
One of my favorite things that happened during your stream was you went up against a Jaguar, and you were able to perfect parry the Jaguar and counterattack. Pete is not going to like it, but that was pretty cool.
No.
I'm sure that all the animals have some sort of unique kill animation for parry and counter kill, but it's something that they didn't even. I don't even think you could really do combat with animals in the original game. It was more so like dodge and attack instead of like parry and attack and stuff like that, right?
Right. So when we were like with those ocelots that we were fighting today, they run away in the original. Like you have to like sneak up on them and like pretty much assassinate them. These ones actually attack you. Like the Jaguars in the original, though, they would attack you, and like to your point, it's a quick time event if they get to you. So there's really not a lot of combat to it, but they definitely added some variety to the hunting. And actually, I only ran into the ocelots and some deer and an iguana, but it was definitely a little bit more engaging than trying to track down and hunt or sneak up on these animals. It's good to see them actually fight back.
Yeah. I can only assassinate an alligator so many times before it starts to get a little bit boring.
Exactly.
The other thing that is really impressive about Resynced, which you can elaborate on, is they made it so you can pretty much swim in the ocean underneath the water anywhere you want. Instead of having to use the diving bell in specific locations, you can now just kind of go underwater, explore underwater, find treasure chests, find whatever. Were you able to really explore underwater in the game so far, or have you been more focusing on like main story stuff?
It's really been kind of focusing on the main story stuff and getting things set up. We ended, so there's been a lot of changes to the game. One of them being extra officers to kind of bolster your Jackdaw's abilities, whether it be defensive or offensively. So we kind of ended with getting that first officer, Lucy Baldwin, who is there to enhance the Jackdaw, was not even in existence in the original. But going to your question, though, we haven't gotten to that point in the game. I think that's kind of like an unlock tutorial type thing to show us how it is. I did try just jumping off the ship early on and diving down, but it was open water at that point. So yeah. I don't think that we've unlocked that part yet, but there's a lot of variety. They've added about 6 hours of content on top of the original content. So I'm sure it's going to be absolutely amazing. I hope that next time you ask me that, I'll be able to answer it.
No, yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. They've also added in new cutscenes, right? And more like context for stuff as well. I saw a few of the scenes while you were playing. Like they added in some new dialogue with Bonnie and some more context with Kenway's like wife or lover, whoever that was, like back in the past, right?
Yep. Yeah, they're fleshing out the story. So really, it's a story that was written by Darby McDevitt in 2013. It was actually he also wrote Valhalla. He wrote the rest of Black Flag Resynced, and I believe he had his hand in Mirage and will in the Assassin's Creed Hexa. Don't quote me on that last one. I believe I heard that he's writing that new, like the witchcraft one, which is
this
I'm
breaking
really
news, folks? This is breaking news. He is writing Assassin's Creed Hexa. You heard it here from Maztec Gaming.
Right. Yeah, no, it's something that they had mentioned. I believe I heard it that way. But the thing is, in the original, they got really behind on production, and so one of the biggest complaints, aside from the modern day, in the original Black Flag, is the fact that they were so rushed at the end that the story is kind of fragmented at the end. This is a way for them to kind of redeem themselves and add back a lot of that storyline. So the cutscenes with Edward Kenway and his wife, you can kind of really get. I mean, it was just kind of like, hey, I wish that I was a pirate, and my father-in-law hates me, whatever. But you can actually tell, even in those shorter cutscenes that were a little bit more extended, that you can kind of understand. I'm a broke loser and I want a better life for myself and for my family. And you kind of get that with these cutscenes. So taking a little bit more time to just tell the story, I think is going to really change the way people feel about this game overall. It was so fragmented in the original, especially towards the end, like I said.
Yeah, it's really cool that they're doing that. Because I don't think the original game. I don't think the original game is bad by any means, but yeah, I mean, definitely adding in some more dialogue, some more story points, some bullet points, I think is really nice. Fleshing out those parts as well, and also like I know you put out a short a while ago, like, hey, do you care if they take out the future stuff? And I was a stark like, no, I don't care. Actually, I would prefer them to take out the future stuff because those mini games not that fun. The story in the future like not that great. Like let's be honest. Like yeah, it's cool that Black Bart comes back in the future as an IT guy, but like it's like it's like really whatever. Like the main crux of Black Flag is that pirate adventure, right? Do you find yourself missing any of the future context for the game?
Absolutely not. I mean, so you're right. So the modern day, the modern day is super important for Assassin's Creed on the whole, because that ties together all the different games, the sages, and everything that kind of ties that history together. But they made Black Flag's modern day so, and this might be polarizing to a lot of people, but I don't feel like I'm wrong, so insanely boring. To your point, the hacking mini games. I mean, you can only do that so many times before you're like, all right, you know what? Enough. This is too much. Really cool to see that the Sage was the IT guy or whatnot. But at the end of the day, they got rid of that because the way that they pull you out in the original Black Flag was so jarring. You're really getting immersed into this Caribbean, the vibrant colors, or the dark gray storms and everything like that. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, let's go do some hacking missions and let's go do a walking simulator. So that was really, really jarring. And then on top of that, the nice thing is the saving grace here is that they added temporal rifts. So you don't have the modern day that you have to walk around in, but you still get that overarching story to tie everything together. We haven't hit those rifts yet in our playthrough, but I'm looking forward to seeing how they continue to bridge that gap between having the modern day, not having the modern day, and keeping the overarching story together.
And I wonder if it's going to turn into like an Assassin's Creed Unity situation where the future modern day stuff in quotation marks was a part of like glitches in the Animus or people trying to hack into the Animus or something like that. Could be kind of interesting for them to go back to a style like that, I suppose.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing with this, and I guess it's more akin to Assassin's Creed Shadows. If you've
Oh,
played
okay.
those types of, yeah, that's I think that's the style that they're aiming for. It's going to give
Style of
you
the
the
time.
modern day information that you need without breaking the flow. I mean, this is an action game for sure. So I mean, you have to. I don't like being pulled out of my action in my fighting and the story and everything. It's real, like I said, really jarring to get pulled out of that. So hopefully this bridges that gap nicely and we don't feel that way this time.
Yeah, I think that people would be more upset about the future stuff not being in the game if we had a character like Desmond, who, you get pulled out of the game, but you have like this interesting story with Desmond, like Assassin's Creed 1, 2, Brotherhood, Revelations, even 3. Like you get pulled out of the Animus to continue the story with a character that you've grown to know and love. Black Flag didn't have that. I mean, they tried to use the characters who were around Desmond, but it's not going to work out the same.
No, definitely not. And the thing is, you had Desmond, and then who is the next one? It's you. The first
Yeah.
person thing doesn't really fit. I mean, there was a lot of character and personality to Desmond, and that's just a tough act to follow between after Assassin's Creed 2 and 3, and then what they his fate in 4. It's like, and I think they made a mistake doing that. Like, kind of left him to, well, now what? Well, let's just have a first person walking simulator, and you, the player, will be the guy. And it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. So I guess I will open the floor, Maz. Do you have any criticisms of Resynced so far?
I did find a lot of the gameplay to be a little bit more simplistic. Now you have, when I'm streaming a game for the first time blind, I'll just do the standard normal, just to get a feel for it, just so I don't look too stupid while I'm streaming. But the thing is, when I am, I think I'm at a point now where maybe I should have upped the difficulty a little bit. One thing that I do really like is those tailing missions. If you make a mistake on that, rather than it desyncing and making you start all the way over from the beginning, you get in a fight, the game adjusts.
Okay.
And you take them out, and then you can get back to the mission. So it's a really good way to keep, again, like we were talking about, we're not breaking the action. We're doing different things. It adjusts nicely. I found very little that I didn't like about it so far. I was overly impressed with the optimization and the graphics with the game. I think that's probably the biggest takeaway from it. I'm definitely enjoyed the storyline. It doesn't feel as rushed. One thing that I didn't like, though, if I had to take something away, is how rigid some of the tutorial stuff is. Like, well, no, we're not going to do this right now because we're doing this. But most games are like that in tutorial mode. It's like, oh, I want to go, like I was saying earlier, I want to go diving. I jumped off the ship, and it's like, okay, where are you going? It's like it wasn't what I was hoping it would be. But what I've seen so far, there's honestly, and I thought that I was going to be almost overly critical of this. I was very, very cautiously optimistic, but very trepidatious about this game. And what I played today really put a lot of my worries to bed. Now, are there going to be other criticisms? It's Ubisoft. Ubisoft is not a popular developer right
That's
now.
true.
They're not a very popular publisher at all. So somebody's going to find something. But through and through, as not only who cares about the being a streamer or a content creator? As a gamer, I thoroughly enjoyed what I played today. And so I think that's really what the most important thing is. I mean, the bad reputation be damned. It's not Skull and Bones. They didn't blow it up.
Yeah.
It's very much so, thank God, because the thing is, this was developed by Ubisoft Singapore, and Ubisoft Singapore also developed Skull and Bones. So, it looks like they did use some assets from Skull and Bones, which they said they were going to, because they had like a $42 trillion budget to make Skull and Bones, and it completely shit the bed. So
The first
they wanted
quadruple
to,
A game, as the first
Yeah,
quadruple A game.
yeah, exactly. The first quadruple A game that never was, right? And so yeah, I was expecting them to use assets. It's like, this is a good way for us to kind of reclaim some of the money that we put into a game that, quite frankly, bombed. But I'm overall pleased with this game so far. I think it'll be hard to go back to the original, just because of a couple of different nuances. I like the combat a little bit better, and the parkour is ridiculous on this. I mean, I didn't like how sometimes you get stuck on ledges in the original. This it's very intuitive with this, and it helps with the flow.
Well, that's good. Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds like you're having a blast with the game. I appreciate you coming on, and maybe next week, if you're available and you want to chat about the game, and when you have more time with it, I would love to have you on.
Well, you say the word, brother. I'll be here.
All right. Word.
Hey, thanks. Take care, guys.
All right, Maz, thank you so much. I'm going to disconnect here. If you want to check out Maztech Gaming, he is at Maztech Gaming on all those different platforms, or you can check out Maztech Indies, his indie channel where he focuses on indie games. I'm sure someone will throw a link somewhere. But I appreciate him coming on and talking about that, because I was watching the Black Flag gameplay for a while. I need to go full screen. Because I do my daily walking. I try to get my steps in. And I was like, I just throw on Maztech Gaming playing Black Flag, and it actually helped pass the time pretty nicely, because I was very interested in the differences, and like the game looks beautiful as well. Like he mentioned Skull and Bones assets being used for this game. You can kind of see where they are. The water is definitely the upgraded version of like the water tech from Skull and Bones. The storm stuff as well looks kind of similar too, which is fine, because those were like, if anything about Skull and Bones, the best stuff about Skull and Bones was still the naval combat and stuff like that. Like there was still some cool things there. Like the worst part about Skull and Bones was lackluster like story campaign, lackluster co-op stuff, mining and resource gathering. The freaking Actually, yes, you're right, Randy. I don't need to talk about Skull and Bones any more than I already have. But you can see where they use the best parts of Skull and Bones for Black Flag. So that's good. And I'm really glad that Maz was able to get that game early, get his Ubisoft account logged into, and play that early. Because that's just really cool. One, and two, also like we get a little sneak peek a day early for most people for the game. So I was actually juggling the idea of buying Resynced, but I think at this point I do need to wait for a sale, because I've already got Splatoon Raiders on the way, for the 24th. But that's like almost a whole like month away at this point, So it's like I don't know, maybe I'll buy Black Flag just to play it. But I also do know that Ubisoft is notorious for like putting their games on sale for like $20 off like a month later too. I don't know if it'll happen with Black Flag, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Have you played Black Flag? Have you been enjoying the game? Are the changes worth it? Come here, bud. Let me know. Oh my gosh. This goober needs to go outside. I know that. I know he needs to go out. It's a little bit early, but you gotta go out. He's bugging me. So, with that being said, I appreciate everyone for coming to this episode of the Ferret64 live show, live every Wednesday. Don't forget, if you are a part of the Discord, there are multiple things you can do in the Discord, which means topic suggestions, questions for the podcast. We haven't had a question in quite some time, and also suggestions for Jeopardy mode. I'm pretty sure next week will be a nice, at least a slimmer episode. So maybe we'll finally be able to play Jeopardy again. These episodes have been taking a lot out of me. Even though I had Jeopardy ready for about 2 weeks now, I said, you know what, these it's just too much stuff going on. So I decided to hold off. But next week, I'm pretty sure next week, barring any craziness, right, should be a nice week to do Jeopardy again. So once again, I appreciate everyone for swinging by. I very much appreciate Maz for the raid during the podcast today. Once again, I do tend to not ignore chat, but I do tend to read it and not comment or read comments because of the fact that it is technically a live show, a podcast. I don't want to lose my train of thought. But if you do have something to say it in the chat, because I do see it and I do sometimes read it out loud. And of course, if you want to join the show for any topic, you can do that, much like Maz did today for Black Flag Resynced. Huh? Isn't that right, Randy? That's right. All right. Well, I appreciate you all very much. Have a great rest of your day. I will see you tomorrow for a live stream. We're going to be playing more Bubsy. And possibly next week I'll talk about Bubsy 4D. Maybe we'll have a review for that. But as of right now, though, I am Yummy the Ferret. I come at you every single week. And that is that. So long.